We are so pleased to bring a third-generation resident of Santa Barbara who's traveled the world backpacking and flying on private jets. Throughout the adventure, she's survived kidnapping, detainment, 2 near-death experiences, and has been targeted by a stalker. These days, she enjoys a quieter life in her charming hometown. Then the phone rang. My journey from hitchhiking hippie to the Hollywood life is her first book. Please welcome Sandy Pearl. Joining in our conversation is writing teacher and musician Max Talley. He's been published several times, including short story collections, When the Night Breathes Electric and Destroy Me Gently, Please. In the fall, we hope to have him back to talk about his upcoming novel. I got a preview of it. It's pretty cool. And it's Peace, Love, and Hate, a psychedelic thriller. I should say it's really groovy, Mac. This far out book drops on October 14th. Welcome, Max Talley.
I'm here to introduce Sandy Pearl. Thanks for all of you for coming tonight. I met Sandy in person less than a month ago, but her reputation preceded her. I teach a writing workshop at the Santa Barbara Writers Conference, and last summer I heard about a shy retiring woman who was attending Marla Miller's workshop. She was working on her memoir, and there's nothing out of the ordinary in that, but soon people were whispering she finished it and submitted it to a publisher, the manuscript. By the end of 2024, the book was slated to be published. That's determination. We traded emails last year, but when she first asked me to introduce her, I was hesitant, as I rarely do this. I hoped she'd tell me it was at Godmother's Books, and I could say, I don't have enough gas to get to Silver. How do you get there anyway? But when Sandy mentioned Chaucer's, I knew I'd do it. I've done 2 events here. I've been in the audience for authors. I introduced Shelley Lowenkopf last fall. You don't need me to tell you, Chaucer's is the best bookstore in town, in Santa Barbara County, in Ventura County, Nama County. Everyone on the staff is super helpful. I've known Scott, Dee, and Michael over here for over 10 years. Always supportive to every local author. I mean, they bend over backwards. But we're on to Sandy Pearl, reading from Then the Phone Rang. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her career without repeating exactly what Michael said. She began her career in the entertainment industry in her early 20s, fetching coffee and answering phones. Over the next 23 years, she worked her way up doing publicity at Atlantic Records. That's Led Zeppelin, Ahmet Ertegun, the big time. She did aspects of production for TV, film, and commercials, culminating in a career as a successful producer of national television commercials. Her book is a collection of real-life experiences, blending light-hearted anecdotes, dark drama, and tales of misadventure with humor woven through them. And we need humor these days. So, you know you're a third-generation resident, you still live here in your hometown today. So without further ado, I'm pleased to present Sandy Pearl reading from her new book, Then the Phone
So I'm going to read 2 excerpts. Let me set them up for you. The year was 1970.
You have to go loud.
The year was 1975. I had just been dumped unceremoniously by some guy and decided to move to LA to change my vibe and shake off the blues. I was working at a trendy health food restaurant as a hostess on Sunset Strip called The Source. The title of this chapter is Throwing Myself Under the Bus. A year passed and I became tired of working as a hostess. Although it was a decent job, I felt the need for something more, but I had no idea what that might be. As I look back on that year, there are a couple of not so funny, standout memories that I'd like to share. I recall when a guy I had a crush on asked me, "Do you like Monty Python?" Who, I thought? However, to avoid sounding clueless, I replied, "Oh yeah, he's great." He looked at me like I had 2 heads and walked away. I was still green. Another mortifying incident was when some cutie invited me to the movies and asked me to choose one. I drove up and down Hollywood Boulevard looking for options. Wanting to seem sophisticated, I chose a foreign film, Emmanuel. The top billing on the marquee was Emmanuel. On the line below it read The Joys of a Woman. I assumed they were two separate films. Let's go see Emmanuel, I enthusiastically said. There's a 7:45 p.m. showing at Grauman's on Hollywood Boulevard. Grinning broadly, he replied, "Great, I'll pick you up at 7:15. He was very pleased with my choice, which made me happy. I had picked a winner. Yay me. Because we had difficulty finding a place to park, we walked in about 5 minutes after the film had started. There, on that 30 by 70 foot screen, was an extreme close-up of a woman's vajayjay wide open. Oh my God. In my attempt to impress him, I had unknowingly chosen a porn film. No wonder he was so delighted. Feeling extremely uncomfortable, I squirmed in my seat and melted into a puddle of embarrassment for the next 90 minutes, which felt like 90 years. Yeah, really. After watching the movie, I imagined he thought it would lead to an excellent booty call. I felt compelled to explain my choice and told him I had no intention of stopping off at Frederick's Hollywood afterward. The icing on the cake was when he drove me home. The extended version of Donna Summer's "Love to Love You Baby" was blasting on the radio. I seriously considered jumping out of his car when we stopped at a red light and boarding a midnight train going anywhere. This was by far worse than the Monty Python faux pas. Talk about up close and personal, I was on a roll. A small town girl makes a complete moron out of herself in the big city. I learned valuable lessons that year which have been forever seared into my memory. Do your research and don't try to fake it. I do and I don't. Another one?
Yes,
Okay.
please, another one. How old were you, if you don't mind me asking, in that previous one?
32.
25. Yeah. You try Olivia. Never mind. Okay. So now we're going to jump. Now it's the mid-'80s, and after working in the entertainment industry in various production roles in music, television, and film, and moving up through the ranks, I'd finally made it to the big time. I was a staff producer at Coast Productions, a well-known company that produced national television commercials. So the title of this chapter is called A Funny, Not Funny Location Story. The product was Chevrolet. It was a dark and stormy night. Seriously, it was my first night shoot as a producer on location in downtown LA. Rain had not been forecast. In fact, LA hadn't seen rain in nearly 2 years. Guess what? At 4 p.m. it started to rain. Our call time was 6 p.m. This threw a monkey wrench into things, and I scrambled to adjust and improvise. I tried to think of everything, but certain things can't be controlled no matter how buttoned up you are. Better bring large hefty bags to protect the cameras, I told Bill, one of the production assistants, as I reviewed and revised my list of items we might need before heading to the location in downtown LA. Oh, and throw in some red, green, and yellow gels too, just in case traffic signal malfunctions. And don't forget the boom box with extra batteries. We'll probably need it for playback. Roger that, Bill answered. Ready, set, go. What couldn't possibly have been anticipated was one of the hero cars getting sideswiped by a passing van because security hasn't shown up or cordoned off the streets yet. 1 car down, 7 to go. Note, hero is a term that refers to the main product being advertised. Next, a camera fell off the tripod due to one of the grips not tightening it to the mount well enough. We would be completely screwed if the guts of that camera were in any way damaged. In my head, I was on the prayer mat. What do you know? The traffic light prop broke in transit because Roger that Bill hadn't wrapped it properly, and the red glass cracked. No problem, I thought, as I knew Bill brought extra gels, which he confirmed, just in case. I gave myself an atta-girl for having the foresight to think of that. Just throw the red gel on it and we'll be fine, I suggested to the prop master. But it wasn't fine because Roger that Bill grabbed the wrong gel. Instead of red, it was bright magenta. No, I wasn't sure if he was colorblind or incompetent, but I was pretty sure he would be unemployed soon. Neither answer would be good at that moment. Sure enough, the boombox batteries died and the backups were the wrong size. Bill had gotten on my last nerve. You're released for the day, I told him. Then to a group of production assistants sitting around enjoying peanut M&Ms, I snapped, someone go to a 7-Eleven and get the right size batteries for this boombox stat. I was starting to come unsoldered. Breathe. Practice aloha. Compose yourself. Don't completely lose it, I reminded myself. My jaw was clenched so tightly that I thought my teeth might crack. Roger that Bill was 0 for 3 and never worked at Coast Productions again. Brett, the car detailer, was responsible for keeping the raindrops off the hero cars, was so jacked up on cocaine that he bounced off the walls and the cars. Watching him was like observing a pinball machine in action. I didn't mind as long as he wiped those cards down. One of the production assistants named him Wipe and Snort. The director of cinematographer, who was trying to hit on the agency producer, climbed into a bottle of Patron and then onto some scaffolding to capture a different angle, nearly falling off in the process. In a low voice, I advised one of the production assistants, get Jay a thermos of black coffee and ditch the tequila. For a moment, I wondered if we should have a paramedic standing by. It was just unbelievable. I couldn't imagine what else could go wrong at that point. I had arranged a buyout of an adjacent public parking lot for the cast, crew, and agency representatives to park their vehicles, with the understanding we would be cleared out by 8 a.m. We were set to wrap by 6 a.m., which should have given us plenty of time to load up and be on our way. However, due to all the mishaps, we fell 2 hours behind, and the parking attendant threatened to tow all our cars, since the lot was supposed to open to the public at 8 a.m. Are you fucking kidding me? It was incredibly frustrating, and I wanted to shoot a few people, including myself. Without hesitation, I told one of the remaining production assistants, offer the guy a lot of our petty cash and beg him not to take action, which according to our contract, he had every legal right to do. Fortunately, his greed prevailed and we caught a break on that one. I thought my career was over and none of it was my fault. I thought of everything and then some, a complete shit show. What's that saying? We plan and God laughs. After working all night, I needed to be in the screening room by noon to watch the dailies with the client, the director, and everyone else involved. I braced for the worst because I had no idea what condition the camera, which had fallen off the tripod, was in. Did it capture what we needed or not? We just kept shooting and the playback monitor only worked intermittently due to dampness caused by the rain, leaving us with no definitive way of knowing what we caught on film. Someone on high must have been watching over this production because the dailies looked great. In post-production, the music was switched out to match the moodiness created by the cloudy skies and rain-slicked streets, and the clients were surprisingly pleased. It didn't exactly match the original storyboards, but no one seemed to mind. There's a saying, we'll fix it in the mix. All hail Rick and Steve in post-production for saving the day. All's well that ends well. I've never been a chicken little by nature, but this time I imagined the worst. I'd be ordered to clear out of my office by the end of the day. What do you know? The sky didn't fall. I called a friend to report the news. Phew, I get to keep this godforsaken job.
Great. I'd like to ask you a few questions, if that's okay. And then I'm going to open it to the audience to ask questions. We probably only have time for 5 or 6, right?
You're good, Matt.
I think everyone wants to know, how long did it take to write this book, from the first word you put on the page, and how long did it take to edit it into the current shape that it is in right here?
It took me 72 years to live it, 6 months to write it, and oops, I got a publishing deal, and 6 months to get it published.
Wow. So you didn't edit it after the 6 months? It took
Oh, it was written and rewritten and edited and cleaned up and sanitized because I really never intended to do anything with it except the whole thing was just like my life. It just keeps happening. And
That's great.
I just went to the writers' conference to meet some people because all my friends were dying. So I thought, well, I'll go to the writers' conference and meet some people and I better show up with something. So I wrote some pages and just got some feedback and I just kept writing.
But don't you have to get it published? Don't you have to submit? Don't you have to?
Well, that was another story. I sent out one query letter.
That's it. One?
And they asked.
And they did it?
They asked for some pages, and it just happened. Kind of like my life. It just happened.
People should know it's not always, not everyone can write their book in 6 months. Sometimes it's 6 years or 6 lifetimes. And
That's ridiculous.
So like, ridiculous.
so we have a determined writer here. Did you learn anything new by reviewing the decades of your life? Things you might have done differently in retrospect, or were you happy with everything you reviewed?
It was rough, you know. It was like a untangling emotional spaghetti. Let me put it that way. It's you know. Sometimes I would be writing. I think, what am I doing? You know. I spent so much time working through all these problems, and a lot of it got re-stimulated. And then some of it I'd laugh. I don't think that really answered your question. But
No, it's okay. And this isn't one of the questions I thought of, but you met all kinds of famous people in Hollywood, in the recording industry. Were any of them that surprised you by being nice? I mean, we all expect to hear horror stories, especially when you're on your way up with people treating you. Was anyone especially nice or kind or funny to you?
I was fortunate. I was in a position that most people were very nice to me.
Great. So you're not going to do any name
One
dropping?
horror story.
Not one, no name dropping. Huh?
One horror story.
I don't have any, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just,
Now that this project is complete now in the world, what's next for Sandy Pearl?
who knows?
Another
I'm
memoir?
just gonna open up the front door and see what happens.
A novel? A screenplay?
I think there could be some kind of a sequel. It might be short stories, because this was a autobiography. I don't have another life, you know. It's just, I don't have.
So short stories, maybe fictionalized memoir?
No, they'll be fictionalized to the extent that I don't get sued or killed.
That's good. Great. Do we have questions out there?
I've worked with a lot of screenwriters and playwrights, not authors necessarily, and they all say the same thing. There's a constant thread that writing is very difficult. It takes
Louder,
a lot
please.
of discipline. It takes a lot of discipline. So I'm wondering, my question is twofold. Did you find this harder or easier because you were telling your own story, your own life? That's part one. And part two is, everybody in this room has gone through ups and downs, I'm sure, as you did, and a testament to in your book. Everybody deals with those things differently. So did you find this, and maybe you already kind of answered this earlier, did you find this to be cathartic in that way? In this process?
Some of it was cathartic, some of it I thought, why am I revisiting this? Some of it was, you know, funny, and I really never intended to release it. I was all over the boards with it. And once I started writing, I couldn't stop. I was writing like 15 hours a day. I just locked myself in a room and I just couldn't stop. So it was easy from the standpoint of, this is my life. I know this story.
Mm-hmm.
And so that part was easy. What wasn't easy was cleaning it up, going back and forth. What am I gonna do with this? And then never even had the thought that it would be published. And then, it's getting published. And then I thought, I'm not gonna release it. And then I thought, well, if I can clean this up and change that person's name and change some circumstances. I mean, I was concerned I'd get sued. There was a lot of concern about or my stalker would return, or, you know, there was, yeah.
The first draft was incredibly interesting.
Yeah. You know the first draft, yeah. The first draft, that just went up in the closet. I mean, it's sanitized, it's true. Everything that I wrote was true. I just had to clean it up so I didn't get murdered or something.
We have questions over here, back here.
You write visually. It was really easy for me to make a movie in my head. Is there interest in a quick little independent movie?
Thanks for reminding me. I gotta return Oliver Stone's call.
Did you ever find out who the stalker was for sure?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. In this room now?
It was my husband's daughter.
Oh. Wow.
It was his daughter.
So not in this room.
Well, that was a showstopper.
Any other questions?
If you had a piece of advice that you could give to your younger self or to any other young women going through similar things, what would it be?
Well, as I wrapped it up in my book, don't hitchhike. Just, you know, take a chance, you know, but use your head. Don't be an idiot. Follow your instincts, that's why we have them. Yeah.
Good advice.
Thanks, Tessa, for the question.
I think we have time for one or two more. Rachel?
I don't wanna steal if somebody hasn't.
Go
done
for
it.
it, Rachel.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just curious how you protected yourself legally when you're talking about people that are well known in the public domain. Did you consult with a lawyer, or did your publisher cover you, or?
No, nobody covered me. I covered me.
How did you deal with that?
I knew what would open me up to liability, and anything I mentioned was all in good fun, and it was all true. If I was talking about Richard Branson or David Geffen, I mean, these are all public figures.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything negative, but I did have to change some circumstances so that somebody I knew would be very happy, who's got nothing but time and money, to come after me and sue me.
Yeah.
So I had to change the stalker story. That was the one I changed the most.
It's very hard to win a slander suit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I was just gonna say, but you also reached out to certain friends
yeah,
and
I
asked
reached
for
out to,
permission.
yes, several people I reached out to. I said, do I have your permission? And they said, most of them were very generous and said, I trust you, write whatever you want. But I checked with everybody, pretty much. Right, Jane? Right, Elaine? Right, Rita?
Any last question?
In your writing process, as you thought of the stories, did you write chronologically through your life, or as stories came to mind, did you write them and then slot them in as
That's a
you
good
went through?
question. I had some rearranging to do. I tried to write it chronologically, but you know, there were flashbacks and flash forwards. Yeah, it got rearranged a lot. I'm not that organized, but I had to get organized. Yeah. Good question.
Great. I think we can wrap it up then for the Q&A. So
I have
now,
a question.
one last question.
Yeah, so, okay, so you wrote a memoir, which means you're pretty exposed, right?
Yeah, you try handing your diary.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm wondering, I mean, especially in your industry where you've got tons of sex, drugs, rock and roll, celebrities, yada, yada, yada. How much of your life experiences did you have to edit out and not include in the book?
I was not much. I mean, I really am that person.
No, but you packed in all the juicy stuff, and I want to get to the juicy stuff.
You said there's a sequel though, right?
Yeah, so that's in the sequel.
I didn't have, I don't even know how to answer that question.
Okay, I'm just wondering if it was
I
a
felt like
little.
I had to hide drugs or alcohol. I didn't have those
So that's
things,
all.
and
Okay.
I wasn't like using knee pads to get where I got,
Yeah. No, I haven't read the book, obviously,
yeah.
but I was just curious as to, because it is a memoir and you're very exposed, like how personal, like when you were writing it, did you feel like, oh my God, I don't know if I could include this, it might be too personal, like that kind of thing.
I was thinking my family might alienate me. Yeah, I was thinking, I wrote some, I threw a few family members under the bus. And my brother, who's a person of very few words and fewer compliments, actually called me and said, "Page turner, great book, congratulations." And I thought, that's it. I'm good. Yeah. I think Michael's given us.
No, I just said that was a great comment.
Oh. No, I was worried, and
Yeah.
it all seemed to work out. I don't know. I just told my truth, and I did not want to offend anybody. I didn't want to hurt anybody. Some people were upset that they completely got left out of the book, but when stories didn't end well for them, it didn't move anything forward. And I know that there's a couple people that are upset that they got cut, but you learn when you're writing an autobiography that some people are going to be angry, and you just got to deal with it, as long as you didn't intentionally set out to hurt them. And I didn't. So.
Awesome.
So one last thought for you, and then we'll close. As you see your friends and everyone around you, you finish the book. You can describe how you're feeling right now.
I'll tell you, yesterday I had a meltdown. I almost canceled. And today I woke up and I thought, I can do this. I'm very overwhelmed. I'm really overwhelmed, and thank you for
You
being
really,
here.
you really did it, didn't you?
All
Yeah.
right. There were people who traveled for a long time and from very far distances. And can I just point a couple people out?
Yeah.
There are people that were in my book, and I'm just going to start with. Let's start with Jean. This is Barry, who is my production.
Hi.
This is Nora, who's been my best friend since dinosaurs walked the earth. This is Jane Eyre, who called the front desk and said, "Can you be my assistant?"
I was your boss.
Yeah, this is my boss. This is Elaine, who I met at Paramount, and we've had some great stories together. This is my love, Rita. This is my unofficially adopted Brazilian daughter, who I picked up online when she was 17 years old, and she's here to stay. I feel like I'm. This is Bill, Bill, and Ronana, and my extra brother. And I can't mention Marna, Marna, who is the one who said, "Come to LA and nurse your broken heart," and worked out.
And we had to hitchhike also.
And yeah, no, she took off. She was gone. She was gone. And there's my auntie, Diane, cutest girl in town. And Lynn, and I mean, thank you everybody for showing up. I'm Veronica, Neil, Pete, and Leah. Hi everybody. Here's Al Clancy, who was our class president. San Marcos High, 1960. And Jimmy Rivera and his wife Liz. Wow, thank you everybody for showing up. I'm just touched. I'm so overwhelmed.
Sandy is now going to sign copies of her books. Please buy the books first and then bring them up to her in an orderly line. Don't rush her. She's been through a lot. And thank you all again.
Thank you, Sandy.